thing I want to talk to you about tonight is immigration. This topic pops up all the time. What to do about this kind of skill shortage list? Is it grows, it seems to me. It seems by the day. I'm sure it's not that frequent, but it certainly seems that way. Pretty much all occupations, if you ask me, on this. It's things like construction workers to dancers, you name it. And of course, we'll be familiar by now with the fact that you can bring these people in at 80% discount from the salary here in this country. Now, Rishi Sunak, he is basically facing a lot of pressure now to either rip up this skill shortage list altogether to raise the amount of money that you've got to be earning, etc. What should he do about these foreign workers?
Well, raising the minimum requirement for pay is a no-brainer because it hasn't gone up since it was first introduced over a decade ago. And we've seen, we take all the arguments we think about inflation and cost of living and rising wages, and whether wages aren't rising fast enough for workers and so forth. So it seems to me obvious that we should raise the rate at which.
So why hasn't that happened?
Well, I think things get introduced, and maybe it was right for the time that it was, but politically it's quite difficult to change things once they're in, and inertia takes effect. It's sort of the same thing. They leave our tax brackets where they are, and they get the benefits of fiscal drag, and therefore we all wind up paying slightly higher taxes because more people get drawn into the higher brackets. If you leave the salary where it is, you get more people coming in the short term for migration to plug the labour shortage, so it can help government in the short term. But it doesn't help them in the medium or long term, not least because a migrant who comes to this country and aspires to do well and wants to work hard, wants to do better and move out of the low-paying jobs that you're talking about quite rightly and understandably. And what have you got then? A new job, a new vacancy in which you have to try and get another new migrant in. So the solution, it seems to me, is that you've got to look at two things at once. We've got more labour shortage than we've had, and we've got more adults of working age not in work than we've ever had before. These two things might be related, and trying to motivate people to work, it seems to me, is part of the solution. Mel Strides, the Treasury's announced a whole set of things like reassessing people rather than condemning them with the soft bigotry of low expectations to say, once you're on the sick, you never come off it. We're never going to try and help you back into a job. We're never going to encourage you. We're never going to come and assess you and see if you're well now. Helping people. There's plenty of people on sick or incapacity benefits who are stuck in their own home but would like to work. And in the online age, why can't we help them? Why can't we help them work from home? It seems to me is a good idea. But the point I was going to make about this short job shortage, we just accept it as gospel when an organisation tells us they've got a worker shortage and we should do more to help them. If you run a shop and you're not selling your product, we might look at you and say, well, if you priced it right, do you need to revisit your advertising? Maybe you need new stock. And when a business says, I can't find the right workers, we say, well, what can government do to help? Rather than saying, are you paying enough? Should you revisit your working conditions? Are you advertising in the right way? It's not all government's fault, you know.
Is that fair?
Is it fair? It's fair to say. I'm not sure if it's totally accurate. I mean, I'm interested that it's many farmers that have, over time, not been able to find the staff they need to basically harvest crops. Then that not happening would exacerbate our own shortages of food supply. And interestingly, this farmer here in question, right? You know, they advertised for workers and just couldn't get the numbers from local Brits. And I think now, you know, it's astonishing, right? 98% of the UK's fruit pickers come, or you know, crop pickers, produce, come from elsewhere around the globe. And it's got worse after Brexit. And
right, but why? So why do Brits? Because I remember in York, I remember this categorically. My sisters used to get picked up at the corner, at the roundabout, in this minibus, off to the farm they went with all the other people. And they used to do things like cucumber picking. I swear, because I got a job in a supermarket. Those people used to do those jobs, Brits. So why are they not doing those now? Well,
I think there's an interesting correlation, I think, between the number of vacancies that Alex quite rightly points out in the workforce and, for example, the number of people who are registered sick in this country and NHS waiting lists. And I think there's a correlation there where if the NHS works better and gets more people through and fit back to work, that might help. I mean, is it just that we're older and that we think the young are work shy now, which is kind of the vibe around this debate a bit, that people don't want to do the tough jobs anymore. I don't know about that.
But it's not a single generational thing. And the farmer you were talking about in this story today, David Simmons, has been farming, his family's been farming that property in Cornwall for 5 generations. And Mr. Simmons says that it used to depend entirely on locals to do their farming, and now Brits don't do it. And he does have an answer to your question, which is Brits have got it too cushy, we're not hungry enough.
Do you think? Do you think that... Because, you see, one of the things I think now is young people, and people will go, oh, Michelle, you're generalising. But so many young people now, they see all this daft YouTube stuff. They see people going on, I'm a celebrity now because I sit on YouTube, I'm an influencer, I can earn money this way, that. And then if you say to those people, right, do you want to go out and get your £10.42 as it was minimum wage picking cucumbers, they're going to look at you daft. Because they now can sit there and think, well, no, I want to be famous, I want to be a celebrity, I want to go on reality TV.
Yeah, well, I mean, all I can say is that I, observe in a different number of environments a lot of young people working hard, whether it's part-time jobs while studying, after university. I'm not convinced that there's a generation of people who want to be on I'm a Celebrity or YouTubers, all these new jobs. I think there's still a work ethic, people want to get on. I am really perplexed, though, by the number of vacancies in the workforce currently.
But let's explore why. Because we're not getting to the root of, well, why do we think... So there's loads of vacancies, but people are not choosing to take them. Why?
Well, I mean, it's very regional in terms of where the jobs are, and I think... are they the best? Are they the best paid?
Well, we've been able to repress, as a left-wing argument for you. We've been able in this country, quite wrongly in some ways, to repress what we pay people for less well-paid jobs because we've relied on migration coming to this country and then remitting home. Very often the worker then goes and leaves the system, and you don't have the same liabilities for pension costs and healthcare, where you incur those costs later in life as well. And we've done that at the expense of training, educating, and encouraging and giving experience to younger people in this country who might otherwise, if the job was paying a little better, go and do it. But the point is, and this is tied up to our productivity stagnation as well, businesses become more productive and your economy becomes more productive when you invest in power, technology and education in different ways for your workforce. And there's been no incentive for business to basically invest in any of those things as long as it can rely on ultra-cheap labour we import from abroad.
One of my viewers, Michelle, says, our whole village used to turn out to dig the farmers' potatoes back in the day. She says it was a real social thing. It really was good. It was not just about the money. She says it was about the interaction, the friendship, the self-esteem, etc. I spoke to someone, a friend of mine, actually. He might be watching, so I will keep his details out of it. He, unfortunately, has had to go bankrupt. And then he told me he's now on universal credit. He was saying to me, I now get my rent paid, I get a discount on my council tax and a discount on my water. And I was saying to him, so what's your plan then? Are you going to go back to work, or what are you going to... And this is a man that's worked his whole life. And he turned around to me and said, well, now I've got to weigh it up. Is it worth my while now going to work? I'm asking
how old he is.
50, probably 56, okay. 54, 56, something like that. But he's worked his whole life. He's a grafter. And I hope if he's watching, he might think I'm a bit rude discussing him. But when I said to him, so what are you going to do then? What work? I was really shocked at his answer. Well, now I get my rent paid, my this paid, my that paid. Yeah. So then where is the incentive to go and do work?
Look, so I think in his case, I don't know, I think if that happens to you in your mid to late 50s, you might have done so much before, it might make you think again before going hard back at it in the workplace. Being on, support from the government, benefits, universal credit, it's not a desirable place to be. I mean, it isn't. The state's got control over your life. The money's really tight. And I think the idea that's a choice for people who want to be lazy, I'm not convinced. No. Just one thing, Alex, I did want to say on your point, Michelle, about reasons for agricultural places and people not doing the fruit picking anymore, is the cost of housing, which in a lot of these communities around the country is so disproportionately high that young people have to leave to get a home.
That's certainly true in Cornwall. You don't have to dispute the notion that it's not pleasant to be on benefits, to point out that there's still a pernicious effect of people, and it happens all in many roles, where people take fewer hours at risk of losing benefits, and
Yes.
that kind of step change, that drop, where people say, if I do another 4 hours work, then I'll get the reduction in benefits will be so significant that I better not. That's a benefit trap that keeps them forever in that kind of environment, and a system that does that is not good.
Yeah, and that threshold, I think it's about 16 hours, and I do think that's something that needs to be explored and unpicked. And I know you say, oh yeah, there's loads of people that wouldn't choose that lifestyle, and who wants to live just on universal credit, but there are people that would be on universal credit and then go work cash in hand and play the system. So they're not just living on that little bit of universal credit.
There are people like that, but I mean, there's fraud and criminality with at all levels of society in the system. I mean, you know, look, I absolutely think that should be called out, as we should call out corruption higher up the chain.
So let me ask about the Labour policy, because everyone will be familiar with the fact it was all about education, education, education. So, when, you know, in my day, you just went and got work because you needed to pay your way and you just wanted to get on in the world. Then this education, 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 everyone go to university, go and get all your degrees and all the rest of it. Do you think that there was an unintended consequence of shoving everyone or many people into university that almost gave people this kind of mindset that I'm too good for that menial job over there because I've got a degree in nonsense and I'm now too good to do the fruit picking?
A degree in nonsense.
Well, some of them are pretty much a degree in nonsense, actually. I can't lie, yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a really, in my view, a very welcome focus on education in the Blair years, which is where you quote that slogan from. Is there now a move back in all political parties to the value of vocational education?
No, my question is, was that policy, do you think that one of the unintended consequences of that policy to get everyone university educated was that a lot of people then thought, because I've got this degree, I'm too good to do the so-called menial job?
I don't think so, but I don't think we can evidence it either way. I think we can have our views on it. I don't think so, no.
Do you think that at home? Do you think actually a lot of people did go to university and now think they are too good essentially to do, I don't know, your shelf stacking or your fruit picking or whatever that job is?